Let's get it going. It's House of Strauss. You know it's Big Waz, man who needs no introduction. A primary ball knower. I say ball knower because saying ball watcher sounds just a little bit off. But you put the time in, man. You put the time in.
I appreciate
this season. You've grinded it. I mean, we might get into a different topic about whether or not somebody who invests as much time in the regular season as you do can miss the forest for the trees at a time such as this. But let's table that one for later. I just wrote down a few different topics to throw at you. My topics are framed as opinions. A little PTI scroll of the mind for you, those of you listening.
Like that. I love that.
First one is I love Jordan Brand's Trial of Luka advertisement, and I think that is a fruitful topic for both of us since we're interested in the sneaker industry. Why aren't the Clippers killing the Nuggets is a scattered take of mine. I find the Clipper roster to be absolutely terrifying, and it's strange that it's been as even a series as it's been. I don't believe in the Lakers. That's my take. I just don't believe in them. You can tell me if I'm wrong or not. Another scattered take. I like Reggie Miller on broadcast. I am aware of all the flaws that everybody hates. I just like it. And I don't know if we want to get into politics. I think the last of the takes will be, I don't think the Trump presidency is going well. That's the last of the takes.
That's the take.
That's the take. I don't think it's going very well.
Yeah,
I don't think it's going great.
Doesn't seem so.
But almost nobody knows what to do about that. Anyway, so let's start with the first one. For those of you who do not know, Luka Dončić was traded to the Los Angeles Lakers. No, I believe it was premiered, this Jordan Brand ad. It caught me off guard. I did not know this was bubbling and brewing, but it's the Trial of Luka Dončić. There's a director's cut on YouTube. Some people like the director's cut. I don't love the director's cut. The whole idea is that he's being put on trial for being kind of an enfant terrible as he is. And I think that's a great concept for an ad. The entire 7-minute little mini movie, though, not for me. But the snippets of it that they're using to market him that just were going again and again and again when I was watching the Lakers beat the Wolves, I thought were perfect. And I feel as though something really interesting has happened. We've had this discussion about how there's been this ceiling on non-American superstars in America. It's this fraught topic. People don't want to talk about it honestly sometimes, but there has been an admission. Yeah, it's hard. It's harder. Something's happened, man, Waz. I'm looking at the way this whole crazy Luka situation played out, the shock of it, how it became international news. And now it's raised his status as a Laker. And I'm looking at it, I'm going, this guy's got a chance to be the biggest star in American sports. If you would have come to me and asked about that as a Mav, I would have said, no, right? And people might have resentment over that because he's a Laker, it's different. But because he's a Laker, it's different. What do you make of this whole moment and Jordan Brand, Luka Dončić, signature athlete out of Slovenia, in the teeth of this NBA playoff season right now?
I think the craziest thing about the Jordan commercial, and maybe, a lot of this is because I watched it after I watched the movie Sinners by director Ryan Coogler last night, which I liked. I would even say I really liked it. I don't love it. And I think my biggest critique for that movie was that I think a lot of Black creators struggle with letting subtext be subtext. And there's just a need to explain why something matters or is relevant or deserves whatever. Which I think the coolest part about the Luka commercial is that there's subtext, that the commercial can let all of us understand what the subtext of the term bad Luka is. They don't need to go into all of it. They can get into some of it, like jokingly talking about him cursing out mascots and season ticket holders, etc. But like as an audience, we know that there's more to that moniker, and the commercial can let that do all of this work.
Yeah.
Which that's what I think is crazy, that Luka has become prominent enough to have subtext, to not need to, like, it doesn't need to be explained. Like, people were so locked into the story of the trade that we all know that his previous organization called him a malcontent, unprofessional, basically a fat, lazy slob. And the commercial doesn't even need to delve into it. It can just kind of show you.
Oh, it's crazier, Woz. What's happened is crazier. All that commercial, I believe, is this stuff takes a lot of time in production. The whole concept, all that stuff was set up before this even happened. Yeah, so one of the reasons it works so your observation is great, but I almost think that if they had made it after this happened, they would have screwed it up and not done what you're saying. They would have filled in too much context. So they had an insight about this guy as a persona. That's totally right. That he's this kind of John McEnroe of basketball prodigy. And they made it about that. But then the man really was traded. And there really was a trial of Luka Dončić.
Oh my God!
Where the Mavericks rendered a verdict, and now it's just this beautiful corporate art somehow becoming reality product. Lightning strike at the exact right time. I love what you're saying though with that. I think that's, as an aside, that is a frustration of mine right now about art in general. The over explanation. I saw Tarantino was saying people would come up to him and demand what the meaning of Reservoir Dogs was as a title, and he just wouldn't want to tell them because he likes what people bring to it. Yeah. I don't like that these HBO shows, they have the after the episode and the actor or the writer is explaining exactly to me what was intended. That ruins the magic. So I think that's a great observation by you, that subtext, just getting allowed to be subtext, makes the ad charismatic in a way that we don't even see that often because we're in the era of over explanation.
Yeah, I'm rarely like deeply affected by a piece of, media that is obviously meant to separate me from my money, to buy something like a shoe, especially somebody like me who I consider to be like pretty into shoes still, and like I kind of look at my closet, I'm like, this is too much. Like, why am I even doing this anymore? And I want to be less affected by this kind of stuff. And watching that commercial and eliciting a response was ill. And also, I love that I'm surprised. I like the feeling of surprise by the juice that this Luka thing genuinely has.
Yeah.
That there's this idea that, like, well, you ship a young star to LA. All right, well, yeah, he's been to All-Stars, he's been All-NBA. Obviously, he's going to be a big star, but like, there's something specific to what Luka's doing that it's weird because it is Kobe-esque. I think right down to, which I think is speaking to your Lakers skepticism, like Luka makes hard ass plays. Like these step backs, these dribble, step back, take a 27-footer. Like that's a fucking hard ass shot. Which is like the kind of thing that Kobe really specialized in, even when he was in his prime. That Luka like has a penchant for making these things happen in the timeliest fashion, and he's already developing a connection with the crowd. And I think, a lot of things that LeBron and his lack of ability to connect, which is something we've talked about and you've talked about and wrote about. A lot of it is LeBron's fault. I think the Lakers thing is not actually his fault. He spent 12 years being Kobe's rival. These people spent 12 years hating this guy's fucking guts. The idea that they were supposed to immediately embrace him is weird. Is a weird idea. Like, I understand why LeBron, and he wasn't a young guy when he got here. I understand why Lakers fans it was just an awkward embrace, and it makes all the sense. Like, he was Kobe's literally direct number one rival. Okay, like they hated this fucking guy. The Luka thing just doesn't have that baggage, and he is a motherfucker, and he does have this really like appealing fucking showmanship.
Well, it's different too to what you're saying because it comes from LeBron. Like the LeBron's idea was to come to the Lakers, and that just deprives it of some kind of freshness. And the way that the decision became fresh because it exploded in this controversial way that people hated, and that made this story. I'm reminded, for whatever reason, I'm thinking about filmmakers and story and narrative, but the South Park creators were given this speech on how to do story. And I believe the way they described it is that they try to cut out and then when you're doing a scene of this happens and then that happens, they want but, therefore, those sorts of words. LeBron going to the Lakers feels like and then.
Yeah.
I go back to Cleveland, I win the championship, and then I go to the Lakers, Hollywood, make movies, Laker glory, Laker great. The Luka to the Lakers feels like but, or therefore. It's, I'm going to be the king of Dallas. I'm inheriting Dirk Nowitzki's European player throne. I'm going to have this great career there that's going to last 20 years, but all of a sudden I've been traded and everybody's shocked. Therefore, and now it's the next act in the play. And it gives it this novelty. It gives it this narrative. LeBron's narrative in Los Angeles is just not as fundamentally interesting as Luka getting thrown to the Lakers in this circumstance.
And there's another part to it as well that I think didn't get discussed enough when the trade happened. I remember talking to somebody who I could say it is an NBA buddy of mine, former player, and he was talking about being traded to Sacramento, and he talked about it in terms that was literally like being sent to Siberia. Like Sacramento's just another NBA team, but the way that he said it, he was like, it ruined my career to end up in Sacramento, not just because it's a piss poor run organization, but it's also just irrelevant. Right? Like nothing that happens in Sacramento will ultimately matter for any player. The thing about the Luka trade is that this shit is going to matter. Whether he succeeds or fails is going to be a big fucking deal. If Luka's coming short as a Laker and people can tie it back to the things that Nico Harrison said about him, it's going to be a big deal. Not just because they're the most popular franchise, but their fans are fucking maniacs. Like, it's going to matter. If he ultimately succeeds, and in spite of the things that were said about him, that's going to matter too. I think that's the part that I didn't have a full appreciation of when it first happened. It's like, yo, this is going to be a big fucking deal. Like, it's a big deal that they did this thing that was unexpected. Nico Harrison and them that everybody thinks is stupid. But like, if they traded him to, I don't know, Memphis,
the Sixers.
The Sixers.
Well, this is what's hard to get into because I think there's resentment over this to a degree. And I said, small market fans might not like that it's as big a deal as it is with the Lakers. And one of my very astute subscribers pointed out that Dallas is the fourth largest market. And it's, but there are levels. There are levels. And I don't want to get into digression about where Dallas is culturally. I think you could even argue that Dallas might be the largest city with the least amount of cultural impact. I don't know why.
What is a distinctly Dallas thing?
The
Besides
show
cowboy
Dallas
hats and big belt buckles, which, by the way, is a Texas thing. It's not distinctly about Dallas. It's not.
I mean, I think
there is no cultural imprint.
The show Landman is near Dallas, so that's as close as we're getting. There was the show Dallas, which might have been on, I don't know, 50 years ago. It's not really any sort of criticism I'm having of Dallas, but it seems like a perfectly nice place to live. A lot of people like living there. The Cowboys, I think, are the main cultural export, but it's just for whatever reason, even though it's a thriving metropolis, it's not Hollywood. It's just not the Lakers. It's just orders of magnitude worldwide. You're a Laker. Everything you do is getting watched in a different it's just getting watched in a different way. And I didn't even have a full appreciation for it when it happened, but now I can see it. And it makes somebody who was formerly unknowable, or he might not have been obscure, but his persona might have been obscure. Yeah. And now we're on his arc. We're on his journey. He comes back to Dallas. He's weeping during the video of his career, and he goes out and he kills them. He kills the franchise that scorned him.
You can't choreograph this. You can't script this. You can't come up with this in a I forget the corporate way to come up with a brainstorming meeting, but like you can't do this in a boardroom, bruh. Like that moment against Dallas is home with this guy. These were not crocodile tears. This guy was weeping, man, for something that he feels was taken from him, and then he goes out and drops 45. Like this shit is real human drama.
You can't contrive it.
Unique. Yes, exactly.
You can't contrive it. It just happened. It's a reminder of just how unexpected history in any kind of way can be. Yeah. I'm reminded of that Charlie Wilson's War movie. There's this speech, I don't even know what you'd call it, that the Philip Seymour Hoffman character was quoting about the wise man in the village who keeps saying, "We'll see," after every single event that is declared great or terrible. And we talk about the ceiling on athletes from other countries when it comes to who's going to be the next big superstar, the face of the league to propel the NBA forward. You go, oh man, Luka Dončić, such a great player, so beautiful to watch, but he's pretty taciturn in interviews. He's from Slovenia. Not that big a deal for the NBA as an engine going forward. And the wise man says, we'll see. And this happens. And now we've got a portal to knowing this guy. We know something about him. He's got something to him. He's got this. He's irresponsible. He's got a child star kind of diva. You can hate him, but he had those tears, so you can love him. And it's all happening, and yet at the same time, now for the basketball take, because we can't spend that much time on the Warriors since they're going to play tonight, the night of this recording. There will be more, whatever happens there. I don't think the Lakers got it. I haven't understood a lot of the people picking them. I could be wrong. I'm a casual observer. I know they just beat the Timberwolves. Very impressive. JJ Redick with his own defense. But I just look at the roster and I go, Luka Dončić is great. LeBron James is still great. Austin Reeves is impressive. And I feel as though the roster is optimized for none of them in a way, especially Luka. He needs those rim runners who defend like they've had in Dallas. This isn't exactly the setup for what I would see as a deep playoff run.
Yeah, the roster is funny. It's funny how fickle we can be in our observation or analysis. Like immediately after the trade happened, everybody with some sense was like, well, this year's kind of going to be a bit of a wash, right? The roster is so imbalanced. You go from Luka being on a team that I picked to win the championship this year. I almost saw it as a Golden State Cleveland 2016 situation where Golden State wins the championship in 2015. They're the heavy favorites again in 2016. They go up against a team that they thoroughly just dispatched in 2015, but only they lose this time in a really hard-fought series. I thought that would be Dallas's fate this year against the Boston Celtics. And the reason why is because that roster was beautifully balanced. They got Luka as the primary driver. They have Kyrie as the backup primary driver who also learned to play beautifully next to Luka. They got a bunch of wings to guard out on the perimeter. They have an insane front court rotation with Gafford and Lively. What am I missing here? These guys have everything, right? They got Klay Thompson to come in situationally when they need some incredible spacing and three-point shooting. I'm like, this is going to work. They're going to win again. They're going to go to the finals. And then I look at the Lakers where it's like you're starting Jackson Hayes, who was literally on the fringes of the NBA before this guy, had a respectable NBA season where we now think, oh, he could be a backup big for somebody. All right, he's good enough to be a backup center. That's your starting center. and all the, Gabe Vincent, you really need Gabe Vincent to play well, and you need Rui Hachimura to make jump shots. We all thought this team was like, this team is not that good in the meantime, but whatever. Luka's 25, they have a longer runway now. Now, all of a sudden, the playoffs started, and people are like, yeah, this is a conference finals type of team. And I'm like, I don't know.
I think people get tricked by those standings. It sounds silly, but you put like a 3 or a 2, and they might be separated by 2 games over the course of an 82-game regular season. And people just go like, "Oh, that's the," and
that's exactly
I don't
right.
know.
I think the only thing I'll say is, one, and I wholeheartedly believe this, I don't think Luka's playing as well as he did like 2 years ago. I think there's something physically limited about him where he's having trouble.
First quarter.
Where he's having trouble getting by people. Like, it just feels like, I felt like, especially in the second half, like when Rudy Gobert switched on Luka, it wasn't some horrible matchup for the Timberwolves, and Rudy's somebody who everybody's complained, like, oh, in the playoffs, he gets played off the court. Well, guess what? He was guarding somebody who people consider to be top 5 or 6 player in the planet on an island, and it was no problem. So I think Luka's still not physically where he needs to be. And it just doesn't feel like he puts the defense in panic because he so obviously is beating the guy in front of him. And therefore, he's such a genius passer, putting defenses in rotation and making his offense very lethal that way. And then LeBron is 40. He just straight up doesn't beat people physically the way that we know that he used to back in, say, 2018 or something like that. And so, yeah, I'm with you. I think this team is deeply flawed. But at the same time, like, the Minnesota Timberwolves, they're like a freaking basket case very often in terms of a collective basketball IQ. And I don't see why, like, either against Houston or Golden State, like, the Lakers have a chance. I could see Houston, not so much. I don't think Houston could beat the Lakers. But, like, Golden State, I think they're smart enough. Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler enough are great enough to beat them.
Yeah, I'll say from a Warriors perspective, I regard the Wolves roster is far scarier than the Lakers. And some of that
physically better.
Yeah. They've just got more size. Yeah. It's just they've got more balance. And you wonder, the basket case thing, is it a matter of focus? I don't know if you heard Anthony Edwards after the game, but he was acting as though he was just completely confused by the zone defense look. And he was being honest about it in this very much uncommon way. But there was this sense in here. Everybody does. He's just so. He doesn't have any sort of inauthenticity to him.
No.
That clip of him talking to Obama from the Olympics documentary is just amazing. It's just so pure.
Look, I'd like to think that I would have the balls to talk to Barry that way, but I don't. I know I would just immediately just be very deferential and very just subservient, just be like, oh my God, it's Barack Obama. I know I would. And Edwards,
you're a millennial.
Like, no. Yeah. Fair.
You're a millennial.
That is fair.
Like to Edwards, it's just something different. But that clip is, there's just that clip contains multitudes. I would advise anybody check out that clip where Edwards is telling Obama. Edwards is just talking to Obama like he's a fan at the sports bar who's saying dumb sports opinions and just regarding him as such. There's no malice to it. There's no sense that Edwards is MAGA, but I don't even think Edwards cares that much about politics.
He's just saying, like, in this realm, I know a lot more than you, and I'm the truth.
Yeah, just so you know. But, he's just, somebody said when I wrote up the Luka ad, who's going to be the Magic to Luka's Bird? It would be fun if it's Edwards.
Oh my God.
It would be fun if this is the first of many. That would be nice. There have been many of these, though, where we anticipate some sort of rivalry that lasts forever, and it doesn't necessarily go that way.
Look, if this is a long series, this is the first step in that direction, though.
I hope. I think that would be wonderful. But yes, the Wolves, I think, roster level, I just regard them as more substantial And I don't know why they have a night like they had, but you have to give the Lakers credit. I think they were very well prepared. Redick got in the lab. It was what it was.
A good coach.
Yeah. I mean, he's been a good coach so far. And Gobert, even if I'm not, I think to what you said, it was overstated, this idea that he's just getting picked on and played off the court, but the rebounding, what the hell, man?
Yeah.
And what's going on? I mean, here's what I love about the playoffs is you start focusing on these weird, minute differences that you didn't notice about guys, like how Gobert, how many near rebounds does he get that he doesn't get? He's near it because he's huge, but the hands are not good. And it appeared as though the Lakers knew to just keep slapping at it.
Yep.
And it's a funny thing. This is about as much basketball analysis as you're going to get on this kind of podcast. But Gobert by the numbers is a better rebounder than Şengün. Mm-hmm. But in this context where it's more prison ball and there's a fray, like Şengün is going to grab the rebound and Gobert is going to have seal flippers sometimes. There's this play in game one of the Warriors game. It might have been the first offensive rebound Şengün got. I wish the announcers had dwelled more on it because it was this play where Draymond blocked. It might have been a Jalen Green drive, just spiked it. And Şengün was crashing at the moment it happened. So he's anticipating maybe a miss, but instead it's a rejection flying over his head as Şengün is careening towards the rim and the baseline. And he just catches it behind his head, over his head, doesn't fall out of bounds, puts it back in. I was just looking at that going, there are some plays that happen out there that people don't act like they're hard and don't dwell on. I just went, you will never see Rudy Gobert make that offensive rebound in a million years. Like that one specifically. No. And I'm not sure what I'm saying about, I'm not saying Şengün's going to be a better rebounder in the playoffs, but these little details you start noticing, and that's the beauty of the playoffs sometimes, is that you see these distinctions, and it's my roundabout way of saying that people are right to kill Rudy, just not for the thing that they're killing Rudy for.
Yeah, and there's something to Rudy's game that these things that feel routine to guys his size, like just straight up being like using your size, he's just not good at. Like it just feels like you should be much better at exerting your size on people, like with the rebounding thing that you mentioned, or like sealing a freaking wing who's guarding you in the post, and you have 8 inches of height on this guy, and God knows how much wingspan. And Rudy's just in like these things that we feel like a routine for these guys that Rudy just can't do. I think that's what just like, bruh, what the hell, man?
Yeah. Well, we're not fair to big men because we assume certain things they do should be
big for
easy.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Big for nothing.
I felt that way about Edey in the playing game against the Warriors. Everybody was killing Edey and he was getting ripped, but they were better when he was on the floor.
I think Edey has a thankless job on that team. They're never going to center him. He is so fucking winded. Like he's on a team that wants to play fast, but he's 7'4" and huge. And so like he has to like really exert himself to be like on par with his guys. They're not playing to his strengths ever, except for the fact that they use his big ass body to set screens. But like he's never going to get a play ran for him or anything like that. He's doing a completely thankless job. I'm completely agree with you. I think Edey's a good player, actually.
Yeah. I think he's been a very impressive pick for them, but he's just going to attract more score and more slander when things go wrong.
People want to see him be Shaq out there.
I mean, it's a different era. It's just, it's not so easy for the big man nowadays. I actually do think people talk about the 90s and how much the game has progressed. I think you put Edey in the 90s, I don't know we might see something incredible, but we can't.
He's a perennial all-star.
Yeah, I mean, he's not exactly germane to how the NBA playoffs are going currently, but I just, they're scoring magnets. They are these big guys. But yeah, where are my takes? Okay, we're doing some basketball. We're doing some real basketball stuff, folks. I can't help it. I can't help it. I feel the Pavlovian pull of the playoffs. I don't want my old job, but I miss it, Was. I just miss when I see Steph Curry in Houston. When I see Steph Curry in Houston, I want to be in Houston.
You have to. Like, you can tell there's juice. There's palpable stakes. Like, it feels like life or death, man. Like that Houston game where Houston is mounting this comeback by literally body slam. It's like a wrestling match, not WWE. I'm talking about real wrestling match with Adams and Şengün just bludgeoning the Warriors. It's like these guys are clawing for their lives. These guys are fighting for their lives out there. And you could just feel like, bro, this is war in a basketball sense. This is trench warfare. This is the closest we come to trench warfare in this sport. And you're watching it unfold, man. And I think there's just something to it. There's something to watching Jimmy Butler be like, yeah, I don't shoot threes. 7 in the playoffs. Like, there's something to watching. You're like, yo, something is happening out there that feels wholly different from what we watched all year long. Like, it's real.
Yeah, it's real. And Sam Esfandiari, because he does all those playback, the live stream, those rooms of different fan communities and everything else. And I heard him talking about he actually looked in on the Houston fans. And I hadn't really thought too much from the other perspective. I covered these games. I liked being on the road. I liked feeling the energy and the nervousness of the crowd. But there's just something funny about the boogeyman. I hadn't really thought about how Steph's the boogeyman. And Sam was watching these fans with the no, not him. No. And it gets you thinking about that particular relationship to a player and in your life, who the boogeyman has been for you. Sam was talking about for Niners fans, it's Patrick Mahomes. It's the no, not this guy. No. I know
as a Mets fan, it's Chipper Jones for sure. Chipper Jones, like 100,000,000%. My God, has that guy killed us 1,000,000,000,000 times.
Man, that's a good pull right there. Pristine player, Chipper Jones. For me, as a kid, because my dad was a big Knicks fan, I was rooting for the Knicks. Reggie Miller, obviously.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. I mean, Jordan, but even, I mean, at my age, I actually don't remember a ton of Jordan versus the Knicks. I mean, that's some early 90s stuff. I remember
93, like, very, very vaguely remembered 93. And that was like, I think that one went 7 games or something insane like that. And then, you know, he took the hiatus for 2 years after that. But yeah, 93 felt like, you know, it was just an exasperation from Knicks fans. The calls. Oh, you can't touch the guy. Oh, fucking Jordan. Like, they just, oh, my God, the pain these people felt from Michael Jordan is crazy.
Yeah. I don't know if we want to detour into a Knicks segment. I won't. I don't find the Knicks that compelling. I like
why?
Brunson.
They're not as gritty. The bread isn't buttered from grit and dirt under your nails kind of hoop the way that it was the previous 2 seasons. They feel like more like just a normal 50-win team than a team that is like the sum is bigger than their parts. They don't feel that way anymore. And I think that's what's made them less compelling.
I also think it's kind of like the Western Conference has 8 playoff teams and the Eastern Conference has 4. I think there's this aspect to it. Mays says that Richard Sherman was a boogeyman for Niners fans.
Oh, man.
Russell Wilson comes to mind now that I think about it as well. I like that idea. I like the idea of the boogeyman. That's something that I can't convey to my wife, of that particular like the sports villain, but they're not a villain. You're just kind of in awe of the terror that they can bring to you. That's this time of year right now. It's a good time of year. So as long as we're going deep basketball, am I wrong to have this takeaway? it's weird to me that the Clippers aren't just killing the Nuggets, because when I stack it up, and to be clear, I think it's normal, even if you're the better team, to have a 1-1 split on the road. That's normal, but it's more the sense of there's just barely separation in these games. Like, this has been the most, they're neck and neck the whole way through. And when you stack up what the Clippers have, they're on paper terrifying. Where Kawhi is in peak form.
Yeah.
He
looks amazing.
Harden's at an all-star level. Powell plays at an all-star level and efficient, over 21 points. They've got an excellent center who's also awesome defensively. Nate Duncan's calling Dunn the best defensive guard there is. You start stacking this up and you go, my God, this roster. I mean, Ballmer really did get the best roster money can buy. And I don't quite understand how they're just, multiple unforced Nuggets brain farts from being down 0-2. You could say that they're close to being up 2-0, but it's just what am I missing? Why is this so close? Because the Nuggets are flawed. Some would say they're so flawed that they fired their coach and GM in the same day.
The Nuggets do have a championship pedigree, right? With their four most important players, Porter Jr., Murray, Gordon, and Jokic. They went to they won a championship, and those guys particularly came up big in big moments in different capacities. Like, obviously Jokic has been Jokic, and I think the reason why it's not, I understand what you're saying, because the way Kawhi Leonard played in Game 2, where you won't watch a guy be better than that in this whole playoffs, individually. He scored 40 on 13 field goals. That's insane.
It's amazing.
That's literally insane, right? And so you could say this guy was as good as Nikola Jokic. In fact, in Game 2 he was better. And so if you're if you have a guy that's capable of being better than the guy on a given night who we call the best player in the league, and James Harden is playing, to me, his best ball since 2020. In the bubble, I thought that Lakers series, Harden was really fucking good. What the Lakers did was just y'all need to let Russ try to beat us, which he's incapable of doing, because Harden's damn good. And if we don't force him to do something to give up the rock, they can beat us. So it's his best ball in 5 years. And, but I think it's Harden who has this horrible playoff reputation. It's Kawhi Leonard who hasn't finished a postseason on the floor since 2020. It's been 5 years since he finished a season on the court, meaning he was not hurt to finish the season. And I think that's what's kind of swirling around it. But I think you're right about the talent. I just think Denver collectively, because of their just straight up chemistry, and because they have the Murray Jokic pick and roll to bank on, because they have this institutional cohesion, that's what brings them to the level talent wise. Because other than that, it's the Pickett kid, Russ, who's just a straight up cast off veteran minimum guy who's getting 30 minutes a game on his team. Porter Jr. is a basket case every other night, and he gets paid 35. It's I think you're right. But they have a continuity, and they have the guy that's considered MVP to a lot of people.
It just doesn't make sense still, because you start talking about the Nuggets roster and you're just naming flaw.
Murray himself is a deeply flawed player. Yeah. Where on a night to night basis, is this guy play like an all-star tonight? You don't know.
He would drive me crazy. If I was a Nuggets fan, he would drive me insane.
It's insane, bro.
But it's just, and MPJ, can you trust him?
No,
is he checked in? This guy is he played very well, but then that is one of the craziest turnovers I've ever seen.
It was insane.
And, Christian Brown defense, but you can't trust him offensively. And it's amazing when you stack up that against the Clipper roster being almost this platonic
Jones
ideal
Jr.
right
is
now.
also one of the league's best defenders.
It's amazing. Adam Mares, he doesn't know I'm quoting him in what should be a private conversation, but he is succinctly explained the lack of separation as neither team runs or makes threes, less chance for blowouts each way. Both teams only had one big run. I mean, maybe that accounts for a lot of it, but I'm watching it going, this is some sort of magic trick. I just think that, and I'm not saying the Clippers are even going all the way.
I think you're underrating. I think you're underrating the ways that the Clippers are contorting themselves to ensure the minimal impact of Nikola Jokic, which involves leaving NBA players completely wide open. This is the defense they're relying on playing, right? It's a fucking CYO. This kid is the same age as everybody, but he's way better, and we have to run a box and one on him. It's almost to that degree that they're contorting themselves. So, it's not as if, the Nuggets don't have ways to make the Clippers not do what they would ideally want to do, which is what I think the playoffs is all about. Every team has, ways they want to run offense and defensive sort of positioning that they want to stay in, a shape that they want to hold. And when they come up against the best teams, they just have to make sacrifices and adjustments to the way that they ideally want to be. I think that's happening to the Clippers. It's just what ends up happening is Russell Westbrook, again, you're an NBA player. You should be able to make a corner practiced wide open three.
Yeah.
And these are the things that the Clippers are conceding. As much as we hate Russ's shooting, if you're just going to let the guy take over and over, and not only just take it, I know I'm going to be open for this, and I can just be prepared for a practice three, that's not a great outcome for the Clippers either, and I think that's what's keeping this thing the way that it is.
And maybe I'm not giving enough respect to Jokic. He is the best player in the NBA. At the same time, he didn't play well at all by his standards. He wasn't
great in game two.
And very close. So that's just an interesting thing. I'm not saying I'm picking the Clippers to win the championship. I don't know if they match up great against OKC, even for all the Ballmer's billions.
Thing is huge. I think the Zoop thing is huge. And I think even a guy like Dort, who is so strong, he's too short to bother Kawhi Leonard's jump shot.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Okay. Well, I'm not advancing them yet. The Nuggets might have something to say about it. Where do I want to go with this? Oh yeah, broadcast. My take, my peripheral take on all of this. Hey man, I like Reggie Miller. I just want to say this is a safe space where I can admit that. I know that's not cool. I go on social media, everybody is ripping him, and you know what? You know why they're ripping him? They're ripping him because he's terrible as a broadcaster. But this is a thing to me. People don't have this take. I actually don't need the color commentator to be good to want them around. I don't. There was all this argumentation about Tom Brady and he's not bringing this and they paid him $1 bajillion and that. And I'm just going, I just want Tom Brady on broadcast. I don't need... It's cool when I get it. It's cool when Greg Olson's on the broadcast and he teaches me something or he has some sort of observation and he brings something to the table. I don't necessarily need that. And that's how I feel about Reggie Miller, where I go, yeah, he's just rambling. He gets things wrong all the time.
He does ramble a lot.
But he is Reggie Miller.
Yes.
And he's got that goofball voice.
He does.
And when Steph does something when Steph does something crazy, I like that Reggie's going, man, oh man, and he's just reacting in this natural way, and you know that's one of the greatest 3-point shooters ever reacting to it. Mm-hmm. So I'm just saying, I like the Reggie and Kevin Harlan pairing, and don't let perfect be the enemy of entertaining. I don't know 100%. How we all became these. We became these connoisseurs who needed, I don't know, some higher standard. I don't need it.
obviously he's not perfect. We know that. I think two things with Reggie, and I think Harlan helps immensely in this regard, is one, Reggie, what I look for in the guys that are calling the game, I want to feel like they're geeked to be there. Where I think Reggie does a good job of making me feel like he's really amped to be at this game. He's really amped to be watching it. Like, he's pumped that he's there as Steph Curry is doing this crazy shit that he's doing. I think that's a big deal, that he's geeked to be there. And I think in the big moments, conveying that, like, yo, that was a big turnover. Like, damn, that was costly. Like, wow, like, that was a big shot. Like, oh, man, I can't believe he was able to draw the foul there. Like, making sure he's meeting the moment. So, like, he's happy to be there. He's meeting the moment. I'm good after that.
Yeah.
Like, everybody doesn't have to be perfect. Like, I don't know. I don't know if this is, I love Collinsworth because he's so fucking amped up to be at the, like, he's a football dork. Like, he really loves all of the aspects of the game. Like, he's really excited. He's like, man, we talked to such and such this week, and they said they were going to do this thing. And
big
golly, here it is.
I was talking to but you know, the weird thing about it is kind of like the model comes out and the other model comes out and you go back and this technology is antiquated. Collinsworth was that sort of, oh my God, he's giving you next level analysis guy 10 to 15 years ago. And I guess they went up a level and up a level and up a level. And now people don't feel that way. But I feel like you feel. He's familiar. He's excited. He makes me feel like I'm going to watch something that's a big event and I'm into it and I don't need it. I just don't need a certain level. By the way,
Harlan is excellent. 10 out of 10 no notes for Harlan for me. He is at the top of that shit. Like, he has peers or whatever at the top, but like, Harlan is at the top for me. If a big game is happening, I am so happy that Harlan is a part of it, bro.
Were you aware he has a daughter who's a broadcaster? Were you aware of this?
What does she cover?
I don't know. I believe she's either the wife or fiance of Sam Decker. And I only found out about any of this because did you see that out in Atlanta, the Braves announcer getting the number of the woman?
Can we talk about this?
Hey, Kevin Harlan's daughter, she stood up for the Braves guy, for the sideline reporter.
Thank you. I like it. Can we talk about that?
Yeah, let me set it up. Let me set up the exposition.
Yes, please. Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So there was this little segment, in-game segment on the Braves broadcast, brought to you by FanDuel. God forbid we sully the sanctity of FanDuel with the sexism or something that ensued. But his name is Wiley. Maybe Maze can help me out with this. I remember the last name Wiley, sideline reporter. He's doing a little fan in-game interview, and the actual broadcasters, one of them said something about getting a number or something like that. Kind of, just inching it forward.
Doing what men do. Newsflash. Men
Wiley
do
Ballard.
this.
Yes. Wiley Ballard. And I gotta say, it was kind of a fun moment, a flirtatious moment. It's fun to have some flirtatiousness in the culture. Not everything is a Me Too situation.
Why do we have to be so sexless?
What
is
know.
This puritanical, like, sexless society that we're driving towards? And I have to say this constantly, bro. The idea that the liberals of our society are now the scolds, the moral scolds, is mind-blowing to me, bro. Like this, I like the idea that the freaking quote-unquote right of our society are like the Republicans are the party of tits. That's insane to me. Like, that's unfathomable to me when you think about like where we've come with all of this shit, when you think about hippies and free love, which we know there's plenty of shit to critique about that, and where we are now with liberalism, where it's like we have to be moral scolds about a dude with a mic flirting with a woman at a baseball game. Like,
he's abusing his power.
Bro, and like, I just hate this idea that the woman had no agency there. Like, as if I wasn't watching that, like, she was fine with it.
Oh, she seemed, I'll just, again, I'm going to give a little more explanation.
She was made uncomfortable by this? Yeah, go ahead, Ethan, go ahead.
Well, I will say this. He's a good-looking guy. He's a good-looking, tall man.
Can we take that into account, please?
We must take it into account. He's a good-looking, tall guy working on television, and she seemed quite happy to be having that exact conversation. And if we regard her as somebody with agency, she could have humiliated him in that situation, rejected him, rebuffed him. I thought he handled it well. He wasn't being Pepe Le Pew. And it was a very nice moment, but then you have this thing that happens. It's really interesting to me where there were journalists going, oh, this is just so bad. It makes, what if a female journalist did that and da-da-da-da. And it's just, look, we're looking at the segment brought to you by FanDuel. I understand that there's sports gambling, and here's what I'll say about it. I know the industry needs money. We can have the sports gambling dollars, or we can have sanctimony. We can't have both. We can't have both. We can't have the segment brought to you by FanDuel, the sideline reporter, go, this is an affront to journalism.
It's just, I think look, I'm not talking out of school here. If the reporter doing that FanDuel segment was Jason Whitlock or Tony Kornheiser, and he's hitting on a woman like that, I'd have a problem with it. Like,
it would be uncomfortable.
Like, stop it, bro. Stop it,
everything's got to be in its context. Everything's got to be.
Stop it, bro. You're not a physical match. Sorry. Let's keep it 1,000. Why do we have to talk about that, Ethan?
I don't know. This whole thing, if this was blank, then blank, is like, no, you gotta assess based on situation. I think there was some SNL sketch where there was a sexual harassment seminar, and it was using Tom Brady versus Chris Parnell, and this is a factor.
1,000. And why are we pretending that the same words, the actual same sentence, can be said by one man to the same woman, and then another man come and say it, and it's two completely different reactions and acceptances of it. Like, we know this happens in real life. What? Yeah. Why are we doing this? Why are we pretending this doesn't matter or take into account? And I wholly reject the idea that a woman couldn't do this. It's bullshit. It's completely bullshit. Nobody has a problem with a woman being hot on TV. Stop it. And if you're a reporter who's beautiful and you're letting people know that you're in tune with the fact that you're beautiful, nobody has a problem with this shit. Yeah. Like, Kay Adams, excuse me, I watch her flirt with KD on my goddamn Instagram maybe 1 million times this year, and I liked it. Smash the like button every fucking time.
Well, that is a tricky one to be honest about, because there's so much going on there. Kay Adams is a very talented flirt. And guess what?
Yeah, that's what it is.
There's nothing wrong with that.
That's what it is, too. She's got game.
Best as I can tell, she seems like she works hard, is competent and conversant in the sports that she is discussing. She doesn't come across as an airhead or an idiot. And she adds a little spice to life. She flirts with the athletes. It gets different answers out of them. They're more comfortable. They're more engaged, if you will. And that's just life. But good-looking people have certain advantages. They use their sexuality to a degree, and we're not going to redesign humanity to eradicate that. And that's just part of the sports media ecosystem. If you're a serious-minded woman and that's not in your arsenal, you can bring something else to the table. It doesn't obviate any of that. I know it's easy for me to say, but that's just my take.
It's like, oh, if a woman did it, we'd be calling her names. If she was good at it, no, like, I'm sorry, these virgins who are mad at good-looking women, like, that's just part of the game. Like, that's part of life, guys. These virgins who know they don't have a shot with good-looking women reporters are always mad at them. That's life. We can't do nothing about it. But the vast majority of people who watch something like that and it was flirtatious, we would be fine and we would love it. Like, God damn, why do we have to be these sexless drones all the time? Why do we have to pretend that there's, like you said, Ethan, that there isn't an art to flirting, that there isn't something fun or mischievous about it, and that we need to treat all sports journalism like, I'm sorry, a lot of y'all, I'm sorry, yo, that work in our industry, you ain't Woodward and Bernstein, man. Get off your fucking high horse with this shit, bruh. Like, stop with this fucking moralizing and finger wagging. You a sports reporter. Chill out, bruh. Chill out.
I endorse that 100%. Though I wonder if I should even bring this one up because you mentioned
not
Whitlock.
Maggie Haberman. I'm sorry, bro.
You mentioned Whitlock, and I was reminded of him versus Shannon Sharpe and everything happening. Do you have any thoughts of what's going on with Shannon Sharpe? I haven't tracked the allegations against him. I've just tracked that there is a second sex tape that he is demanding come out to exonerate him. And I don't know what to make of a man in his mid-50s having not one but two sex tapes. He's a really talented podcaster, media personality, obviously NFL Hall of Famer. I don't want to judge. I don't know what it's like to be Shay Shay, but I'm just going, what is going on?
I think he needs to be very thankful that it's not 2018. Because
he would be done.
He would be done. He would be done. It wouldn't matter if he was later exonerated. In the moment, his corporate partners would have threw him overboard easily. I think there's just something too, like, we're past that Me Too shit moment. Like, there's something to that. I think there's something too, like Jay-Z. He got slapped with some chick talking about, yo, he had sex with me when I was 13 or 14 or some shit. Like, and the charges got dropped and people was just like, we're white with it. Jay-Z's back to being Jay-Z. Like, that just wouldn't have been the case in 2018, bro. Yeah. I think there's something to like the moment being completely different. And I think there's something to Shannon Sharpe is very comfortable in his public persona. And I think there's something to his willingness to not be a perfect public figure in everything that he does that makes him more able to withstand something this completely insane. He's just a more human public figure, for better and for worse. Like, there's something to that.
He also has the option that gives him leverage. There are people out there where they're not going to be anything without the infrastructure around them.
Oh, without the four letters. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, without the
four. Like, I'm past it.
Yeah, he can go on YouTube, he can do his podcast, and he can command an audience of over 1 million views. There are people where they need the infrastructure. I sometimes find myself resenting them when they've got issues with me sometimes. Not that I'm a big deal, but I just go, oh, come out here independently. Let's see how it goes. Let's see if you're all you think you are. If it's about you, it's not about the surrounding apparatus. And I think with Sharpe, he's always got that. So whatever scandal or controversy, he can retreat to the wilds of YouTube and do well. And that gives him leverage in a situation with corporate backers that makes them more inclined to keep him.
And I think, again, and you've talked about the quote unquote vibe shift that's happened around this stuff. I think people are now able to hold two thoughts at the same time, which is one, the idea around quote unquote believe women which is around something I think that's pretty noble. Just the idea that's like, yo, by percentage, like people don't just show up and make shit up, right? Like, which we can say is an empirical truth. Like, most women who the vast majority, I shouldn't say no woman.
You got in 2018 mode right there.
Most women who come out and do this, they're just not doing it for fun or attention or whatever, right? They're not doing this. Like, we could say that as an empirical fact that most aren't. However, we can hold the thought that like famous people are a magnet for this type of shit.
Yeah.
They just aren't. We have to accept that as a truth.
That's this whole other conversation too, where those kinds of women exist in their orbit who are not the best kinds of women. So you might talk to an NBA athlete about women and they might sound like a misogynist. And you've got to realize that they don't come
hang
into
out
contact
with accountants and RNs. No, that's not what they do on a day-to-day. No.
They don't hang out with the sort of women in our lives. All of you listening, love you beyond reproach. They're targeted by just some of the most manipulative human beings, man or woman, who exist.
Yes.
Which
I'm glad you said that. Yeah.
Which would make you cynical if you were hanging out.
So here's another thing too that I think folks need to understand that I tried to explain because, like, you know, my proximity to the nightlife industry here in LA from, you know, some business adventures me and my buddies have had, and being close enough to that world to explain something to people, because this is something a lot of my normie friends don't understand. They'll be like, you know, Tyler Hero and Kyle Kuzma, beef. They have a beef because they dated the same chick. And a lot of people will be like, that's so whack, like normal people. Like, why are they constantly, and it comes up all the time. Like Bow Wow and Future have the same baby mother, right? Like, it's like, what, like, why are they always dating the same women? Blah, 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 blah. And here's what I need people to understand about these athletes and the women they're around. The requirements are so narrow that they have to date the same women. Meaning, what are the requirements? There's a requirement that these women are cool with infidelity. Like, they just have to be fine with it. Like, these women have to know that this person is going to have other partners, no matter what. That's never off the table. That these people, they're not going to be monogamous, okay? They're not going to be monogamous. They have these schedules that require them to be on the road. So that means, like, a dude who plays for, say, plays for the Brooklyn Nets. Well, you have to be able to, when he calls you to come hang out with him in Salt Lake City on a Tuesday, you have to be willing to drop everything you're doing to go hang out with him on a random Tuesday in Salt Lake City and Milwaukee. Okay? That's another requirement. So you have to be cool with infidelity. You have to have basically nothing, or a schedule that's flexible enough that at the drop of a dime, you can show up to Salt Lake or San Antonio, for God's sakes, God forbid, on the drop of a dime. And 3, you have to have the physical profile that these guys are attracted to. So, like, combine all of those 3 things. Like, how many women do you actually know that are cool with constant infidelity? That are cool with, like, the idea that the person that they really care about, not only do women who want them know where they're going to be every day. Like, literally, like, they could just look it up on the internet. Oh, this guy's going to show up there. I can make myself available in his DMs via his homies and his entourage. Do all of this stuff. Like, you go on these guys' comments and women are putting, like, tongue emojis and kissy face emojis. Like, how many women do you know who are, like, dentists and shit would be cool with that being the case for their significant other? Like, bruh, the people that are cool with the lifestyle it requires to deal with a professional athlete, I promise you, man, these ain't a bunch of assistant principals, guys.
Yeah.
And that's not to cast aspersions on all of their mates or whatever. I'm just telling you, I've been around it, bro. I've watched a woman, like, watch it, be in a spot in a nightclub, See the marginal NBA player walk through. See where he's situated at. Her and her homies get themselves situated, put themselves in a sort of approximate area where the athlete is, and do their version of a ritual mating call and get called into the section. I've literally watched it happen from A to B to Z, bro. This shit has nothing in common with what happens in our day-to-day lives at all. So, like, this idea that it can't happen, like, you're insane to me if you don't think that somebody could set a guy up. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, they are running baseline out of bounds plays for dick. They have a level of organization. Amin has talked about this, how they will do research in the forums and circles that they are in. They'll find out, oh, this young rookie, this 19-year-old, he's really into Star Wars. I'm going to have a Star Wars backpack on in the nightclub. I'm going to run into him, act like it's serendipity, just bump in, and he's going to notice, and I'm going to go, oh my God, I love Star Wars. He's going to think that this is just love.
Oh, yeah.
And there's that level of organization. There's a Chiron now, baseline out of bounds plays for dick that Maze has run across the screen for those of you who do not know. But yeah, it's a different culture. And some people know how to move within the event level of the NBA. Not necessarily just women, just the sorts of cast of characters that we see in the loading docks.
Who are guys, man.
They're cool, like Rich Kleiman, like these people. You've got to know how to talk to an athlete, know what you say, know how to act after a game, a result. This is a great conversation, Waz. I hate that we both have to go and lock in the playoffs right now, but hey, man, you always deliver. Is there anything as I'm wrapping us up too soon that we should be checking out from you?
No, just make sure you're keeping up with our playoff content at group chat, the Ringer NBA podcast. We're dropping those Saturday night, okay, right after the games on Saturday, and Wednesday nights right after the games. So be on top of our playoff coverage. And yeah, man, that's it, man. See you guys soon.
Subscribe
to Waz Speaks. Subscribe to Waz Speaks once a week. Me and my man John Gervais just tackling the news of the day. Just having fun with it.
Well, hopefully we haven't gotten you fired. I think we approached
you haven't. We're good.
Situations with appropriate nuance.
We respect people. That's it.
Yeah, we didn't get into too much politics. That'll be next time. I believe there will be more things happening in the future. Mercy. Too many things.
We'll tackle headsets firing.
You think did that happen, or you predicted it?
No, it hasn't happened. It's just something that feels like it's imminent. Yeah.
I'm shipping him and Tulsi in the never-ending soap opera that is the administration. Even though it seems like maybe they're at odds. I don't know. This is for a different conversation for a different time. Thanks so much, Waz. Take care, man.
Much love.